Well, good morning, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Bill Wyatt, Executive Director of Airports here at Salt Lake City. And I was just listening to the music, which is, of course, the playlist from the River Tunnel. What would you expect at an event honoring our great friend and leader, Mike Williams? I'm looking out here. I recognize a lot of faces, and I think almost all of you probably knew Mike before I did and longer than I did. So I arrived here in Salt Lake City, almost 8 years ago. And I drove down here from Portland in my little Ford Escape with basically my clothing. Showed up at work 2 days later. And I think a day after that, there was an airport advisory board meeting, which happens once a month. And the first person to jump up and introduce himself to me as I walked through the door was Mike Williams, who I'd never met before. I didn't even know there was a Mike Williams. And I can't tell you how relieved I was to know that there was a Mike Williams. Otherwise, it would have been me, which wouldn't have been a good thing. And it took me a good 6 months to figure out how things were organized here. And I soon came to realize that Mike was the center of this big spinning top. And all of us came to really buy into, and that's what it is, to buy into this incredible system that Mike has developed over a career, really, about how to do things like this. He had plenty of people, engineers, contractors, people with tremendous airport experience who've got the knowledge and the skills, but it takes so much more than that. And soon enough, it became clear to me that this guy really had what it was going to take in order to complete this project successfully. And I have to say, but for Mike's central involvement in this project, I'm not really sure where we would be today. We just had our monthly Delta real estate meeting, and we're reflecting on that fact. I think all of us who've been in the airport space for any length of time can look back at catastrophic airport projects. I'll just put it in that category because there wasn't someone like Mike Williams at the center building teams. Mike's strength, in my humble opinion, was certainly he had the skills, no doubt about that. He spent a lifetime building those skills. He was an engineer. But what he really had was a basic set of values, which he imparted to others, and an absolute commitment to bringing people together to solve problems, because that's all projects like this are, just a huge series of problems that need resolution. And I have never really had the privilege of working with someone who had that incredible understanding and ability to bring people together to do that. I can remember in the early stages of the project when there were just nothing but challenges to be addressed. I would call, actually I can't even remember his number because it was just a button on my phone. I'd call Mike, first ring, yes sir, blah, 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 what about this? He says, don't know, we'll get people together, we'll figure it out, it can be done. Almost universally, that's the Mike Williams that I think all of us have come to appreciate. So we're here today to reflect on our friend. We have several folks here who have known Mike and worked with him for a long time. And then we've created a permanent space in the airport for Mike. And we've kind of internally talked about if we'd done anything more, I'm sure he'd come back and rip it off the wall, because he's one of the most humble people I think I've ever met in my life. And he'd be disappointed to see us all here wasting our time when we could be out there building this incredible project. And since he's not here, we're going to do it anyway. And so it's a lovely piece. I've had a chance to see a picture of it, and it's exactly where it belongs, next to this incredible facility which he was so central in creating. So it's now my pleasure to introduce the airport owner's representative to the project, Brian Stetson. Brian?
Thank you. And not only do I want to absolutely welcome everybody, I want to thank Bill Wyatt and the SLCDA and especially Nancy for putting this on and donating a small space in the airport for Mike. Also, Cal Smith and Jordan, Jordan Kamek were really the motor behind the plaque. When Mike passed away, I was just not in a frame of mind where I could barely digest what was going on. And the two of them took the ball and ran with it. And we wouldn't have it if it wasn't for them. So I definitely appreciate and have a lot of gratitude towards them for that. So I thank you all for coming today to celebrate Mike Williams, his impact on the ARP, Salt Lake City International Airport, as well as our collective commitment to carry forth his legacy using the tools that he gave us to run projects and programs. During these past few months, we've had a opportunity to reflect on a relationship with Mike over the years. For me, he's not only the person I've reported to for the last 25 years, but he's also my uncle. And as such, couldn't be a more impactful person throughout my life. I've always known him as a person I could go to, seek wisdom from, share stories, celebrate achievements. Everything I know about airports, construction, project and program management are really due to his leadership and guidance over the years. He even introduced me to my wife back in Atlanta before a design review meeting at the International Airport Program. So I look at it as remembering Mike is really a call to action. The best way we can remember Mike and to honor Mike is to carry forward his legacy of running programs in a transparent and open way, focusing on collaboration, developing an integrated organization where everyone is working towards the same goal. Take to heart the spirit of the program as our staff is really an extension of the owner as we work together to deliver what the owner wants, what the owner's envisioned, and what the owner expects. More than just this plaque, which we'll be dedicating to Mike today, really this entire airport is a testament to how Mike's vision of an integrated team working together can deliver what would be considered impossible. This team, under Mike's leadership, has ultimately delivered $5.2 billion of construction on time and on budget, while maintaining a high-quality deliverable for all stakeholders, the public, SLCDA, and it seems the timing is impressive. There's a lot of awards and recognition floating around right now for this airport, and it happens to coincide with the timing of his dedication, which I really like. For Mike, no challenge was too big to take on as we all worked together to deliver, and there was no question that we would support the schedule and deliver on time and on budget. It was always a given we'd find a way, and that's a testament to his will and his drive to succeed. So today, really, our charge is to take the lessons he taught us and continue his work and finish the ARP program proudly and set a really high bar for other programs to follow. We then need to continue his work by taking his vision and applying it to our own futures. As we move on to other projects, we need to continue to use the schedule as he did to drive the program, make sure that we hit deliverables, and make sure we hit those milestones. Develop a program team, which is an integrated organization where everyone is dedicated to working together to complete the work. Improve communication and collaboration where everyone is focused on the same goals. That's what Mike would do, that's what Mike did, and that's what we need to do. Most of all, we need to remember Mike's core principles that Bill touched on. Keep our promises. That way we're fulfilling commitments, we're reliable, and we build strong relationships. Tell the truth. That's to be honest, communicate effectively, and build trust. Treat everyone fair. That's prioritizing people, respecting everyone, making sure we work together. To achieve that, that's what Mike did, and that's what we need to do going forward. That's how we carry the torch for Mike. So this dedication is really a celebration of that spirit, and that's how we want to move forward. And that's the best way, I think, that we can remember Mike, is by holding that bar high and setting a standard to deliver programs. So thank you. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Mark Pearson with Delta.
Thank you. On behalf of Delta, thank you for being here. And for those of you who know me, I don't normally get up and speak at these events, so that should be a testament to just what Mike meant to us and everybody. As Bill and Brian said, today's all about remembering Mike Williams. He's a man who proved that building airports was more than just concrete and steel. It was about building a vision, having patience, and as many of us well know, it's with a little bit of stubbornness too. Though Mike never wore a Delta badge, he was truly part of the Delta family. Mike was instrumental in several of our most strategic projects in the past, from JFK Terminal 2 and 3 renovations to the Boston Terminal A project, to the Atlanta International Terminal, and of course here, the Salt Lake City Airport Redevelopment Program. Each of these programs was massive. They were complicated, and at times they were maddening. But Mike just had this ability to create order out of chaos. Mike was known for his integrity, his care for the people around him, and as mentioned, his ability to bring order to these even more complex projects. Truth be told, Salt Lake City and so many other projects would not be here without Mike Williams. It's fitting that his legacy is now memorialized and will live on here in Salt Lake City, where his impact on Delta, the project team, the airport community, and the city is felt every single day. As for me personally, I will always remember the running inside joke with Mike and my constant bittering with him about delivering Delta gates early. Constantly. It was a joke that for most people, they would simply laugh it off, but not Mike. He actually did it. He delivered the Delta gates months ahead of schedule and proved to all of us what could be done. Only Mike had that ability to take a simple joke and turn it into a project milestone. Mike leaves behind more than just these phenomenal city-changing projects. He leaves behind friendships, trust, and a reminder that work well done and people well cared for are the truest measures of success. Once again, Mike will always be remembered for his care for others, and Mike will always be a member of the Delta and Salt Lake City families. Thank you. With that, I'll turn it over to Kevin.
Thanks everyone for being here today to memorialize a man that I've spent 17 years working with since really 2008. I'm the project director, if you don't know me, Kevin Falvell, the project director of the Holder Big D joint venture out here. Moved my family out here 2014. Was working with Mike in Atlanta on the international terminal there since 2008. I expect there's very few people in anyone's life that, especially in the business world, that you would choose to work with for 17 years. And, Mike is definitely on the list for me. If I had to redo this portion of my career over again, working with Mike, I would not hesitate in a heartbeat. And I think a lot of you that knew Mike would feel the same way. You think about some adjectives that describe Mike: sharp, strategic, honest, devoted, tough, and fair. Like, who wouldn't want to work with a guy like that? One of the ways I described Mike to people who didn't know him, who were new to the job but may not have known Mike yet, is he's the hardest working man on the job site. He would be at work before our first superintendent, and he would leave after our last project engineer. And he knew more. Mike himself knew more about this job, this $4 billion job, than really anyone else on the job at any given time. Up until about 2 weeks before he passed, the 5:30 email regimen from Mike continued apace. It was really pretty incredible what he continued to do even through his fight with cancer. You know, he was devoted to these projects and to this work, and you couldn't help but get caught up in that. You know, it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows working with Mike. You know, some other adjectives to describe him, I would say he could be feisty, he could be stubborn, and he could be demanding. And you really, you knew very quickly if you were not meeting up to his standards. But whenever you got crosswise with him, you know, people who had worked with him long enough, you felt like you were disappointing your dad or your uncle. And I really don't recall ever, you know, if Mike was giving us the business that we didn't deserve it or have it coming. So that's always encouraging. You know, Mike had this unique ability to keep the project goals first and foremost. And he didn't really have much driving principle other than making these big projects successful and honoring your own commitments. And you've heard that from all the speakers today. So when he honored his commitments, he expects you to do the same. You know, I can't adequately convey in words Mike's impact to my career and literally the hundreds of people that have worked in Atlanta and here in Salt Lake that have worked for Mike and with Mike, you know, first year kid coming out of college all the way to the project leadership that have worked with Mike for years and years. You know, Holder and Big D's story is incomplete without an important chapter devoted to our relationship with Mike Williams. And that relationship and all the great work that we've accomplished together. We cannot thank him enough for that extended partnership, trust, and friendship. I'd also like to thank Rodney and his extended family, including Brian, you know, for sharing him with us. You know, he was taken from us far too soon, and he's missed every day. Godspeed. Now, I think from the unveiling perspective, we've got Tom Lang and Mr. Mike Sant, who are going to do the honors.